Well, boys, this was shaping up to be a pity podcast. We were going to have a lot of sadness and morose attitudes, and that's why we had to invite Jimmy so that he could brighten our day. So let's get into it. This is Red Card Radio. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're listening from. Thanks for tuning in. Red Card Radio is a weekly look at the Premier League from some amalgamation of friends who support different clubs. My name is James. I support Arsenal. On the top row with me, that's Brad. He supports Chelsea. Directly below me is Sean. He supports He supports Tottenham. Almost called you by your Twitter handle. And then diagonally down from me, that is our good friend of the podcast, Jimmy. He supports Liverpool Football Club. Jimmy, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, guys. Always enjoy it.
Yeah. So, like I said, it was going to be a pity podcast because this.
Oh yeah, it was.
I mean, it might still be if we think about Liverpool holistically, but
Yeah.
before
Told you. I was telling you earlier. I almost wore my Dortmund kit tonight.
that would have been telling. That would have been very telling.
Until Jack told me this was a Premier League podcast, so I had to wear Liverpool.
He is the arbiter of truth.
He is.
Yes. Along with Brittany.
All right. Before we get too deep tonight, if you are new here, if you just stumbled across this, please hit that subscribe button, ring the sub notification bell if you're on YouTube. Leave a comment down below. We love talking about your comments. We will have a comment that we're going to talk about in the news episode tomorrow, so definitely want to check back on that. If you're on one of the podcast sites, leave a 5-star review if your platform so allows. Follow all those things. Share the podcast with a friend, brother, mortal enemy. We don't really care. Anyone's good with us. And we would really, really appreciate those things. So, boys, what we're doing tonight, this is the review of match week 31. So, Premier League weekend, we're going to take a look at a handful of games. As always, we have to start with the Premier League table, as we are required by law to do. So let me pull that up real quick. And as you can see, Arsenal still in first position, though they're...
That's his favorite. For those keeping track at home, that's his favorite comment to say every week.
It's up there. It's certainly up there. Though the next part of my statement is my least favorite part, because this is, though the gap is shrinking. Manchester City are in second. They have a 4-point gap between them and first place Arsenal, though they have one game less played, so they have a game in hand. Manchester are in third. United are in fourth. Tottenham are still in fifth. Aston Villa, who had Aston Villa sixth on their bingo card after 31 matches. Brighton and Hove Albion are in seventh, though they have 2 games in hand on sixth place Villa, only 1 point behind, so that's definitely they're able to catch them. Liverpool are in eighth, game in hand on Villa for sixth, 3 points behind. So, I guess the Europa League's not out of the question for Liverpool. Brentford are in ninth. Fulham are in 10th. That rounds out our top 10. Turning our attention to the bottom half of the table. Still on 39 points. I'm not sure when we started joking about Chelsea. Oh, they're almost at 40 points. They're almost to safety. But Chelsea are still on 39 points.
We stalled all the way out.
They have to stay there because it has to be reflective of how much money they spent in January.
Yes, there we go. I like that. Crystal Palace, they are knocking on Chelsea's door. They're on 36 points in 12th, so 3 points behind. Wolves are in 13th. Bournemouth are up to 14th. West Ham down to 15th. Leeds are in 16th. Everton are in 17th. Nottingham Forest still in 18th. Leicester still in 19th. And Southampton still languishing in 20th. They are still 4 points off of 17th and a handful of goals. So I could ask you, Jimmy, if you think the same that we think kind of about Southampton, that they seem like they're dead in the water.
Yeah. I don't think they're coming out of it. They're not playing that well. I mean, I think they've already played Liverpool twice, so that was probably their only other 3-point opportunity.
Isn't Chelsea traditionally the Robin Hood club? They steal from the rich and give to the poor.
Well, I mean, think about how Liverpool's always been. When you compare Liverpool against the top 6, they're almost always first.
Yeah.
but they always lose to relegation teams. I mean, Chelsea is absolutely like that as well, but Liverpool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it seems especially with Liverpool this year. Once I don't know if you necessarily agree with this characterization that we give to Liverpool, is that they play to their opponents a lot
Yes,
more than
absolutely.
other teams, and especially when there's nothing on the line for them
Yeah.
in terms of
This was a big problem. This was a big problem under Brendan Rodgers and Dalglish and Hodgson before a bit. And Klopp kind of got rid of that for a while, and I think that some of that fatigue that you guys have talked about with the no breaks and stuff like that has kind of caught up to a lot of the clubs. I mean, Chelsea is also a good example of that, and because of that, they have a harder time getting up for that game, especially now. Like even Liverpool and Chelsea, I mean, their seasons are done.
Yeah.
There's not much to play for.
I will point out that Chelsea are only 12 points from safety.
So you're saying it's not impossible?
Not impossible to get relegated.
Yeah.
Okay. While that's
It's
certainly
not
not happening, it's certainly not happening.
It's not impossible. They're not mathematically safe.
I would need to know the absolute acrobatics that would need to take place for.
I can
Chelsea
tell
just
you
lose the rest of the games.
Yeah, Chelsea loses the rest of the games, and the people behind them win.
Yeah, but there's so much more going on there. Like, I mean, yeah, like the easy route is Chelsea loses all their games, but then some of these teams are playing each other at certain points. Like, there's only 7 or 8 games for some of these. It would be wild.
Anyway.
Mathematically still possible.
All right, let me quickly run through these results real quick for match week 31, and then we will get into specific conversations about games. Saturday kicked off Aston Villa hosting Newcastle United. That game ends 3-0, but not to Newcastle, to Aston Villa. That's, I think, Villa's either 6th win out of 7 or 5th win out of 6. They're on a tear right now. Chelsea and Brighton from the Bridge. That game ends 2-1 for Brighton. Everton at Fulham. Fulham win 3-1 at Goodison. Southampton Palace. Palace get the 2-0 victory away at the South Coast. Roy's got them playing like men possessed. Spurs Bournemouth. That game ends 3-2 for Bournemouth. That's the game we're going to talk about. Wolves Brentford. Wolves win 2-0 at the Molineux. Diego Costa finally scores for Wolves. Finally. Only took him a couple months. Little bit of time. City Leicester, that game unsurprisingly ends 3-1 to City. West Ham Arsenal. Arsenal, for the second week running, get a 2-goal lead in a game and end up drawing the game 2-2. Forest versus Manchester from whatever the Nottingham Forest Stadium is. Manchester United win 2-0. And then on Monday, in the big one, the Battle of the L's, Leeds and Liverpool. Liverpool have scored 6 goals. They win 6-1, and Liverpool have, I think they've used all of their goals for the month of April. So good luck.
I have a somewhat not quite trivia. It's a fun fact because I don't think anyone's going to get this. But Liverpool have won a 9-0, a 7-0, and now this 6-1. So, any idea the percentage of goal? Like, what's the percentage of those goals that make up their total
this season?
Yeah, from those 3 games.
9, 16, 6.
Without looking at the table.
Looking at the table,
it's got to be like 75%.
22. It's 47%.
It's about 40. It's like 39.8.
Oh, okay. I was just guessing.
I was gonna guess 25-30.
But isn't that it's ridiculous, right? So, 40% of your goals have come from 3 games out of what 29.
30.
That's some.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, I would. Hey, can we get those?
Okay.
I would love that.
All right. Time out.
Can we get those? I would love that.
Do you guys want another funny anecdote? The leading assister at Chelsea Football Club is Mykhailo Mudryk with 2 this season.
He's tied.
Okay, that's still laughable.
But it's still a funny story. It's still a funny story.
Yes. And one of those assists was basically gifted on a massive deflection.
Yeah, massive deflection for our first goal and for our only goal since Frank Lampard's taken over.
Yeah.
Erling Haaland still has more goals than Chelsea.
Well, to be fair, Chelsea tied him. Chelsea tied Erling Haaland before they had the early game, and then Haaland overtook Chelsea in the late game.
And he's outscored us for total goals, not just Premier League goals, but like total goals scored. He's outscored us. He's scored 47 this year. I think we scored like 42.
That's
bad.
even more
That's terrible.
hilarious. Okay,
Isn't it? Isn't it?
I would love to.
The amount of finishing
Jimmy-
like that doesn't happen at Chelsea is phenomenal this season.
Jimmy, did you appreciate the lists of teams that Erling Haaland has scored more than in the Premier League?
Oh yeah,
Ridiculous.
That was a good piece. We found that really funny.
Yeah, that was good.
All right, but,
I mean, he's a freak athlete. He's unbelievable. I mean, I've watched him for a while now, so
The bike was incredible this past week.
we'll continue to pile on Chelsea. Maybe not this episode.
Okay.
Maybe in the news. We'll find out. But we'll pile on Chelsea later. I want to turn our attention to Aston Villa, Newcastle United. This match, Sean and you and I talked about this match beforehand, and I don't remember if you thought Villa would win the match, but I was pretty adamant that I thought Newcastle would be too much for them because we were talking about how the defense of Newcastle is so stout, like in that the only way they were going to score goals is if Ollie Watkins made a deep run behind and got onto the ball. And while that's not how Villa scored their first goal, it's how they scored their second goal. And so when watching that game, I was just I was like, man, we are prophetic. Like we have prescience going on here.
Sean Stradamus is wearing off on you.
It was impressive, and we nailed it. Though I did say that I thought Newcastle would win the game, and Aston Villa absolutely beat the stuffing out of Newcastle United here.
Yeah,
it was competitive for a while. I mean, Newcastle had some pretty good opportunities, and Martinez made a couple of pretty good saves, but dude, Watkins is
true.
I mean, going back to
Watkins. Yeah, sorry, you finished, Jimmy.
His, Sean's trivia from last week, Watkins being like the little sleeper pick there. I mean, I've always thought he was pretty good, but he's getting just better and better and better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he had an interview and they're like, so what's the difference here that you scored like 15 goals since Unai's come in? He's like, well, I was running to the corner for the team when Danny Ings was there. Now I'm staying in the box.
Yeah.
That's my width, and I'm just there to bang in goals. He ate Shar alive, and Newcastle desperately need a left back.
His
Dan
assist,
Burn is not the play.
Ollie Watkins' assist for the first goal. It's a long ball, and he just rises up and heads it back perfectly. And
amazing.
The ability to do that and to recognize the position you're in and lay it off perfectly for your teammate.
Yeah.
It was. I will be shocked if Chelsea don't pay £110 million for him this summer.
I actually wouldn't. Like, A, that's way expensive, but B, I wouldn't mind bringing in Ollie. Like,
that's not enough. It's going to be at least 140.
Well, the thing is, Ollie Watkins has said in the past how he really wants to play for Arsenal, and so if Arsenal sniff around and then Chelsea be like, "Oh, here's 200, Villa, sell him to us."
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though: does Watkins fit in at Arsenal?
Yes, because we play a very fluid front three. I think that Watkins.
Yeah, but who's he play? Who's he play on top of?
The question, well, that's a different question. The question is, does he work at Arsenal versus is there space for him at Arsenal?
Yeah, that's fair.
I think those are different questions. Is there space for him at Arsenal? No. Unless he's willing to be Gabriel Jesus' backup and we sell Eddie Nketiah. And we also have to sell Florian Balogun, who is currently on loan at Marseille, and he's tearing up the Ligue 1.
He's like top 5 in all of Europe in goal scorers this year. Like, he's eating Ligue 1 alive.
Yeah, so he's not the leading goal scorer in Ligue 1. I will give you guys a guess. You may have seen it on Twitter this week, but do you guys know who the current leading goal scorer is in Ligue
1? Yes.
If you
Jonathan
know
David.
Okay, Brad's guess is Jonathan David. Do you guys have a guess?
I'll be wrong.
No, I have no idea.
Just want to pick a name.
Somebody on PSG.
That's also incorrect. Also incorrect. It is a 1, unless it's changed from the weekend. Alexander Lacazette.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
I know Jonathan David has 20 goals.
Well, if he has 20 goals, then he might have scored 20 goals today or something like that. Because Lacazette was first when the other guy was on. He was tied. They were tied on goals at 19, and Lacazette had 4 assists compared to whoever had third. Whoever was in second had 3 assists.
Where's Lacazette at now?
You said
Lille,
right?
I think.
Lille. Okay.
You said assists.
Wait,
You
Lacazette
were
is
talking about goals.
third.
Okay, then it's
Like,
You were
changed.
talking about goals.
It's changed
Lacazette
then.
is third. Mbappe and Jonathan David are tied at the top.
Okay, then it's changed
Okay.
since I saw that tweet. But it's
Yeah.
hilarious that that Lacazette, who couldn't find a goal for Arsenal over the last 2 years,
Banging in 19.
and Florian Balogun, who's our youth product.
You find it surprising that a professional footballer is scoring goals against people who have day jobs?
Okay. I think Ollie Watkins could deserve a move to a bigger club.
Yeah.
But why? But if the question is like, does he go ride the bench for Chelsea or ride the bench for Arsenal or go play behind Harry Kane? But Aston Villa are in the Europa League. Like, why would you leave Aston Villa?
And Isak is clearly going to be the starter at Newcastle. United. Well, look, if United go for Kane, then Tottenham goes for Watkins.
Yeah, but I mean, United's already got
Sorry,
two.
not United. Sorry, Manchester. Manchester
Yeah.
goes for Kane.
But is that actually happening? I'm not sold that's actually happening.
I don't know. They have, unless they're going to sell.
Well, and they're
Peter
also
Crouch?
selling I think Martial might be out of the project, so they don't really have a 9 because I don't think they're keeping Weghorst. So
Weghorst is a donkey.
Yeah, he's not. He's been a bust.
Yeah, I don't know. But he deserves it. I think.
Go ahead, Brad.
I think Chelsea, the main striker in the Prem that Chelsea's been after is Tony. Apparently, Tony's on the short list, but I don't see why Watkins wouldn't be.
I mean, hold on.
I thought Watkins has been good since then.
Let's have a quick rundown of Chelsea forwards. So we've got Christian Pulisic, Kai Havertz, Hakim Ziyech, João Felix, but he's only on loan, so we don't necessarily have to count him.
Yeah.
Who else am I missing?
But you shouldn't.
Who else am I missing?
Mudryk.
Mudryk. Okay. Mount, kind of.
No, not Mount. Maduki.
Okay.
Maduke from PSV.
Okay.
Who else? Do we got? Sterling.
Aubameyang, Sterling.
Aubameyang. Fofana, the young kid we bought.
There's
like
one.
19-year-old. Does he count? He's more of a midfielder.
Hold on. There's one more that I just can't. I can't put my name on it, my finger on who it is.
He's Belgian.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What's his name?
It begins with Gosh, what's it like? It begins with like an R. Or,
yes.
Lukaku.
Oh, that's right. It's the 97 million pound man himself, Romelu Lukaku, who's coming back to Chelsea in the summer. You add Ollie Watkins in the mix, you got 11 forwards. Let's just roll it.
Just think if they wouldn't send him out for loan, I bet you that's beyond 39 points.
Hey, we could run a 4-3-4.
That was really good. How do we think Newcastle respond to this? Newcastle United are currently in fourth, though I think Spurs are sniffing behind them pretty closely. Do we think Newcastle can hold on to fourth? Do we think they will?
I think they will.
With a game in hand, yes. Oh, we'll see, because the next game is against Tottenham.
That's a Champions League 9-pointer.
76 pointer, you mean, sir?
Well,
75 pointer.
Newcastle still play like they want to be there.
Agreed.
And they're playing very solid defensively for the most part.
Yep.
Tottenham are obviously playing people that have day jobs.
That's who's on the team.
This was the worst Newcastle.
No. All right. Listen. I looked this up. This is a non-relegation League One team. I want you to stop me when you hear a name you've heard. L.A. Waha, Wabi Kazari, Teddy Sevigny, Benjamin Leclerc, Isagai Sila, Stefan Mavadidi, Valerie Germain, Babukar Kuyate.
Maybe that name. That name sounds kind of...
Konate? Yep.
Maybe the same one.
Not the same Konate you're thinking about, Brad.
No, probably not. Arnaud Nordin, Maximine Estevez.
Konate's a striker.
Khalid Fayed, Christopher Julian. Like I can keep going.
Maybe.
Like these
Surprisingly,
dudes
that
are.
Fayed guy name sounds familiar.
Which team is this?
This is Montpellier.
Montpellier.
I did conveniently skip over French international that has retired. This is his retirement club. I did conveniently skip over Mamadou Sakho.
Okay. Okay. Let's
Sakho.
do. Hold on.
Sakho
We know
played
him.
played
Hold
for
on.
Liverpool for a little bit.
You want to do this? Okay. Okay. I got one. Mark Travers, Cameron Plain, Lloyd
Bournemouth.
Kelly, Chris Mepham, Adam Smith,
Yeah,
Jack Stacey.
you're naming Bournemouth players. It took two.
So speaking of Bournemouth,
Even though you pronounced Travers bad, poorly.
I think he did that intentionally, right, Brad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
That's
did
how
it.
you did it for the French team.
He did it
The French-
intentionally.
Oh, okay. Well, look,
All right, let's talk about the Spurs
Listen.
Bournemouth. Let's talk about Spurs Bournemouth. What's going on here, Sean?
what do you know what's going on?
Okay, yeah, shut it down. We'll move on.
Dang.
He's talking about.
We're trying to make some content here.
Go ahead,
Sean.
Jimmy.
You're talking about the game where they decided to just kind of have nap time, like kindergartners in the middle of the game.
Yeah,
Several times, or
Yo.
basically most of it.
Jimmy needs to be a regular. This is.
I was just curious. First of all, we can't lose the board. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It wasn't like we were dominated. It was just counterattacks. It seemed mostly the first goal, especially, was Porro just getting dispossessed by three people, finding the outlet, and then Sanchez just gets roasted. And Højbjerg kind of leaves him out to dry. So I said in the pre-production, I don't really blame Sanchez on getting roasted there so much. But the second goal, he got absolutely fried on the second one. You as a Premier League center back, you need to be at least fouling the guy. Do something.
Well,
like.
I mean, it feels like but it seems like 6-year center backs that are playing at the game at any one time, or basically half of them are like squirrel, like they're not paying attention.
Well, yeah, and apparently they're trying to re-sign Dyer. But back to Sanchez. He played 23 minutes. He subbed on for Lenglet, and then got pulled 23 minutes later of game time.
Yeah, because he gave up 2 goals.
Yeah, and was booed relentlessly.
He might get flack for the first goal. I don't blame him for that. Porro's dispossessed in a really bad area where you should not, as a right back, be dispossessed. Højbjerg closes out, but does not close out well enough. The outlet gets released, and now Sanchez is flat-footed, dealing with a running ball into a lead pass. Like he's just doing the best he can at that point.
And
it was 2 mistakes in front of him that led to him being off balance. I don't blame him for being off balance at that point. You expect your teammates to do their job.
And you changed formation, so like it made sense. Sanchez coming off out of Romero, Dyer, Sanchez. Like I'm going with the back pair. It's Romero, Dyer. So like
what happened? What happened was Longley got injured, and then Romero primarily plays on the left side of Dyer. When Longley came on, they brought on Sanchez and then moved Romero to the. Or I'm sorry, he usually plays on the right, and they moved him to the left so that Sanchez could play his primary position, which is the right center back.
Right.
And then Bournemouth just ate that alive. Between Porro making a mistake here or two, I'm not going to rip Porro on this one. He made a bad mistake. I haven't seen him make one yet. He's been playing for 5 or 6 games now, probably more than that. But I haven't seen him make too many mistakes. I'm not gonna roast the guy for making a bad decision. But Sanchez got absolutely obliterated twice.
Yeah.
I think the big takeaway from this result is less, I think, about having to do with Spurs and has a whole lot more to do with Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth essentially secure their safety with 3 points against Spurs. I don't know what the last
3 in a row.
Yeah, I don't know what the rest of their schedule looks like in terms of strength of schedule, but they're 6 points right now, 6 points off of 18th, and that's a healthy cushion at this point.
They won 3 or 4. Sorry.
Yeah. So Do you, Sean? Where are Spurs going to finish?
7th.
Dang.
Is that
When
is
all
that,
the
is that
when all the games get even, it's probably going to finish. I'm not messing with you guys. When all the games finishes, it's gonna be Newcastle, Villa, Brighton, Tottenham,
Liverpool.
so you
Liverpool.
you
Liverpool,
think-
eighth.
so
Well, you
you
left off United there too, or you left United.
Oh,
you
I
mean
just went. I went
Manchester?
four to
Manchester.
7.
Sorry.
4 to 7 is all I went.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
you didn't give us who's going to win.
So you think Villa is coming over? I have a question about that too, James. When we get to Arsenal, do so you think Villa passes Tottenham?
Yeah.
So you're thinking you're taking sorry, a little preview of the preview episode coming on Friday. You think Newcastle's getting the dub over Tottenham then?
They'd have to.
They'd have to for your scenario to work out.
we're at St. James.
Yeah, that's
coming at St. James. Them coming off a tough loss.
Yeah, they're gonna be firing, but you guys should be firing too over this Bournemouth loss. I think it's an interesting game, but we'll get into it more there. I'll leave it hanging.
Yeah, definitely check back on.
We'll leave that hanging.
Check
On
back Friday. Yeah.
We'll get Sean's real opinion on that game.
Yeah, but you guys are catching me off an embarrassing loss. So ideally, I'd like to be in Europe.
I mean, we're only we're only 3 points back from you guys.
Conference is not Europe, so I would like to be in Europe proper. Spiropa, I want Spiropa to be live and well.
You want to go for the conference again?
Brad, you
Yeah.
You mentioned you had a question for me about Arsenal. I think it's high time we got there.
Yeah, let's dive into the Arsenal game really quickly because this is the second time back-to-back weeks, different scenarios ish, that you went up 2-0.
Not ish.
That you went up 2-0.
Different scenarios, yeah.
Yeah, and then end up drawing 2-2.
Yeah.
This time it's not a pissed off Alexander Arnold destroying you guys. It's West Ham.
Last week's result against Liverpool is something that just can happen against Liverpool.
Liverpool played well.
Liverpool played might have been their best half of football all season. They were exceptionally good. The result against West Ham, I think, has a whole lot more to do with Arsenal becoming complacent in that they got the 2-goal lead very quickly and honestly very easily. The 2 goals that Arsenal scored were exceptionally simple for them to score. And so I don't know if that just kind of allowed them to feel a little bit more relaxed in the match. But the penalty for West Ham certainly brings them back into the game. It's a penalty. I think it's a soft penalty. I think that there needs to be conversations that we have about whether or not VAR should be more adamant if an offensive player initiates contact. I felt the same way in the Liverpool match where Rob Holding was adjudged to have fouled Jota when Jota just gets in front of him and stops running. And has no interest in trying to get the ball, but he just stops running, and Rob Holding comes into his back.
Yeah.
So
I think you have more of an argument on that one than you do in this last game.
Okay, that's fair. But I think that there's we should have that conversation. I don't necessarily think we need to have it right this moment, but Arsenal are to blame for these last 4 points being dropped. It's all on Arsenal for both of these games not being victories. But this draw doesn't necessarily matter in the grand scheme of things because we had already lost the margin that was required to allow a loss at Man City when we drew to Liverpool. Yeah. So we could have, if we had won, we had 9 games left. If we had won 8 and lost to City, we still would have been champions, right? But since we drew to Liverpool, we lose our margin, and now a draw a draw away at City or would a loss away at City would have us equal on points with City, and City has a superior goal difference by like 7. So that's a pretty decent margin because City is going to be scoring a lot of goals. And then so the draw against West Ham just means that if we lose against City, then we finish 2 points behind them instead of even on points with them. Now, if we avoid defeat at City, so if we either beat them or draw, then the title's still in our hands. So that's why the draw against West Ham is less punishing necessarily than the one against Liverpool. It is indicative of mindset and trends and things like that, which are worrying. But Zinchenko was a last minute scratch, and we're missing his leadership on the pitch. Not having Saliba has been, I think, difficult, but I think Rob Holding has played very well in his absence. So obviously we need a result against Southampton. We need to beat Southampton by a
Here's
lot.
my question.
Yeah.
Here's my question, right? Because checking 538, they now have it. Manchester City at 67% to win the Prem, and Arsenal 33% to win the Prem.
Okay.
A point difference, so 88-87. If that is the case, and Arsenal finished second, is that a disappointment this year?
I will answer that question last. I would prefer to hear what you guys think.
At this point, yes.
Sean?
I wholeheartedly agree with Jimmy. If you at the beginning of the season, you would have said, I will take second all day, every day. At this point of the season, it is a disappointment.
Yeah, being up 7 points or 9 points, whatever it
It was
was.
8 points.
Yeah.
8 points with 2 games in hand.
It was effectively 5 points with City having a game in
Yeah,
hand.
it was 8 with the game in hand.
Yeah. Yes. Is it a disappointment? Yes. Is it a disappointment in the moment? Yes. But a week afterwards, when you look back at the season as a whole, is it a disappointment? Or is it like a bottle job? Is it whatever? It's a achievement, I think. In the grand scheme of things, when you look at the season on a whole, it's improvement. We will have amassed the most amount of points we have amassed in astronomically long time. We'll be back in the Champions League, which was the goal for this season. So we can't lose sight of the fact that Arsenal's goal was 4th this year, and to be in a title race with Manchester City, despite what everyone is saying about this Premier League being weak this year and that Man City are having an off year, that is a nonsensical talking point to try and discredit Arsenal, because Man City are within points of their highest point total. I mean, okay, they're not Centurion totals, but like their point total last year, they're within like 2 or 3 points of their total from last year on pace in terms. So that's a nonsensical argument that I reject outright. So this is not a weak Premier League season. I think if you look at it 2 weeks after the season ends, I think you can feel very proud about the season. You can feel disappointed in not winning it when it was in your hand, in the same way that we felt disappointed last year when not finishing the Champions League when it was in our hands. But you still recognize that we're the second youngest team in the league, and we were in a title challenge up until May with City. I think you can take a lot of, you can be excited about that. But I have said this, and I will continue to say this. If Arsenal don't win the league this year, it's entirely possible that we go longer than Liverpool without winning it, because there's no guarantee that next season we will be here again, right? Like, even though like we have all the ingredients to be good again next year, there's no guarantee, right?
Yeah, I definitely think this is your guys' best shot at a title. Not that it's necessarily a weak Premier League. The Premier League is very tight, but like, let's be real. This is a super disappointing season for Chelsea. This is a super disappointing season for Liverpool. This is a disappointing season for Tottenham. Are all 3 of those teams going to be this bad next year? Right. So I think that competition gets a lot tighter. That's what I'm saying. I agree with you in that. I think this is not a disappointment for Arsenal. I think this builds character. I think it gives you a great chance for next year.
I mean,
and see how they do in the Champions League.
At a certain point, like, so I said this earlier when my brother asked me this question at the beginning of the season when we beat Tottenham in the early season, and he asked us, James, would you have traded the victory at the end of last season to get you in the Champions League, or keep that loss and have that victory today? And I said yes at the time. I was like, no, keep it the way it is, because look at us now. Like that affected our mentality, right? That loss in May last year, April, whatever it was, affected our mentality in a positive way. At a certain point, those types of like platitudes are useless, right? If you don't then convert that
The- The moral victories don't
Yeah,
mean anything
the
unless
more-
you can't,
exactly.
unless something happens.
unless the evolution is then a victory down the line.
Yep.
So
That was my question. I don't think it's a disappointing season.
I don't think it's a
disappointment right now
disappointing
either.
season, but I think you're disappointed you don't win the league.
I mean, I think the fans would be, but like you said, when you look at it, it's like actually we overperformed. This was a great year.
To James's point, when it came up because of Pep's, somebody posted Pep's since Barcelona, his coaching finishing stats of like first, second, first,
Okay.
first. And then there was 1/3, and it was 2016-17. And the only time that a team has beaten Pep and not won the title was Tottenham. And then how it came up on my feed was one of the Tottenham people were like the 50 Cent meme of what do you say bleep for? Like, why am I getting thrown in this? But it made me think back of like, to your point of like, man, we had a really good year that year. Like that's nothing to wag your finger at. Like that's beating Pep City is a good accomplishment.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, that was Pep's first year, I think, right? Yeah, because it's Conte,
No.
Pep, and Klopp's first
What are you
year.
talking about?
no, it wasn't his first year at City.
You guys
No.
did the double over him like 2 years ago,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah, we
Last year.
routinely
last
beat
year, yeah.
City's ass. We
No, last year.
routinely
I
beat
was
City.
talking 16-17.
16-17 is the weird. Leicester won. We finished second. City were third, and that's a good accomplishment. And you look back on
Oh,
it.
yeah, 15-16. Yep. They finished second the year before.
I just want to see Pep manage a team that's not backed by infinite money, essentially.
I mean,
Well,
to be fair, Bayern.
Bayern.
In the Bundesliga, Bayern is infinite money.
Yes, that is true. That is true. He didn't have infinite money at Barcelona because Barcelona don't have infinite money, but he inherited the best team in the world.
He had
But in
Lionel
Spain,
Messi.
it's a huge advantage because of the TV money.
Yes,
You get
but
astronomically more money than most all other teams in Europe before
And-
oil money became a thing.
and that was at the time when Real Madrid and Barcelona had the super different, like the super disparity in
But-
TV revenue.
But also, that was way worse then. Yeah, but also all the big oil money, like the PSG, the City, all that stuff, that didn't exist yet.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
back then, they were the richest team, like by far.
Well, they weren't richer than
They were
Real
still-
Madrid.
No, I'm saying
were-
but Real Madrid and Barcelona,
Okay.
like those two.
Yeah. Okay.
They
All
were
right.
on
that's fair.
path to have $1 billion of revenue before COVID happened.
Yeah.
So don't that's 19. Like
But like, what happens if like Pep just says, whatever, I'm gonna go manage Wolves next season.
that's not.
What would be
know-
what would be intriguing is if he was like, I'm gonna go manage Milan, AC Milan, or something like that. Milan are a big club in Italy, but they are precarious financially. Like they're always teetering on the brink of. I don't want to say Juventus because Juventus,
And
Bluff
Inter. Like,
numbers.
Hold on.
Well, like Juve do cook the books. I'm sorry, Will. I'm sorry, Will.
Well,
Juve cook the books.
Serie A is on the brink of disaster. Like let's be real.
Yeah, in terms
like
of
every
finances,
club-
yeah.
Every
It's
club's
dangerous over
finances
there.
are terrible.
Yes. I don't know. He should go to he should go coach DC United. See how well he does.
I just don't think comparison's the same.
Wayne Rooney
It's
could use
not.
an assistant.
Wayne, okay. Thank you for that question, Brad. But I think
Yeah.
we have to finish tonight with Liverpool. Jimmy, your boys, they're back.
Liverpool.
They're firing on
Well,
all cylinders, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say back. We're probably about to drop 3 points to Forest, but I don't know, man. It was interesting. So I watched this game last night, kind of recorded after baseball, and they starts up, and I'm like, what is Trent doing in midfield? I'm like, what is happening here? And then of course, like there's memes everywhere about like somebody looking at Bellingham, them putting their glasses on and seeing Trent,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
The Spider-Man meme.
The I don't know. He played really well in like kind of that, not quite the 6, but like a
Was he
kind of box to box midfielder.
was he playing as an inverted fullback essentially? Like was he
Yes.
still listed as a fullback but came into the midfield?
Yes. He was doing like the Reece James, Ben Chilwell inverted
Well,
fullback.
kind of
thing.
at the beginning. At the beginning, you would see him drop back into that position, and they would kind of have a semblance of a flat 4. That lasted like maybe 10 minutes, and then it was like obvious 3 in the back, and he sat right in front of him with Fabinho, and he had more lenience to go forward.
Yeah.
So he was playing more like how like an Emre Can played at Liverpool, where he's really more of a box to box midfield type for a while there, and he created chances. He had at least 1 or 2 assists. It was interesting to see him playing in that position. Whether or not that's what they're going to do long term, but they basically play Kanate, Verge, and Andy Robertson across like kind of the back. And the downside of that is if you're going to play 3 in the back and you're going to play Andrew there, he can't bomb forward anymore.
Yeah.
So it's
Trent Alexander-Arnold is a right midfielder.
so he's
Sorry,
I would so
get
well,
that out
well
there.
let's,
He's not a right back. He is a right midfielder.
but people made the same arguments with Gareth Bale, right? So he played left back for basically ever until someone finally was like, oh, this guy can shoot
Put
and
my
he's
left
super
winger.
fast.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of the same evolution I think Trent's making now. But Trent has very good vision. I mean, that's the difference in some of these cases between that what you're talking about, right?
I don't think he's
He
that's what I'm
might
saying. I
be
don't think he's a
better in a
winger.
midfield position.
He's a right midfielder. He's because like he is a defensive liability.
But
He is a defensive liability.
So I think to
his
Jimmy,
offensive output is worth it, right? For Liverpool, his offensive output is 100% worth it. Playing him at right back right now,
I think
but like
I,
say
I
he's not a
think
defensive liability, I think it's crazy. So thank you for admitting that, Jimmy. I appreciate that. But I think he's more of a right mid than a right back.
Go for it.
I just think I think Jimmy's point is spot on of that. Like, say you just remove the defensive liability part, just put him at an 8. If he's a box to box 8, he does have incredible vision. Like his assist numbers and what pace he's on for his assists are crazy. And the only thing you lose by pulling him off the sideline is his crosses because he's incredible at crossing the ball. If you put him in the center, he doesn't cross the ball as much, and he is impeccable
But
at that,
but
at
it's still
picking up the cross and placing it.
but that still doesn't matter as much because even if you put him in the center, you can see like in tactical formations wherever you're playing 3 in the back, whatever you've got 5 midfielders, you can whatever, or depending on how you're going to do it, you always can rotate your triangles, right? And so
Yeah.
he can still do that. And generally, when like Harvey Elliott plays for Liverpool, you'll see him play as a center midfielder wider than Salah.
Yeah.
And he always he's like it's like a weird like thing they got going there. But Liverpool's biggest problem versus like say Arsenal, and this is like a weird change between like Liverpool in the last several years, and Liverpool's always had this like giga press mentality, but Liverpool also were able to keep a tight center and midfield of support to pass balls quickly around. That's one of the things Arsenal does so well. This year when you watch Liverpool, one person's got the ball way on the side and everybody runs away from them, and everything's like try to attempt to get in. There's none of this like quick passing and like interaction between a lot of the players anymore to get these balls through. There's articles about what Hog, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about the Manchester United manager.
No, Ten
So
Hag.
he wants to play what they call like a narrow something. I can't remember exactly what the terminology is, but the idea is that you suck the outside backs in, and then you get a little bit more of like a tiki-taka thing. We're playing like slight through balls, but your outside player is not so far out. When you play them that through ball, they're just closer to the goal. It's easier to get a shot on. Liverpool just don't do that. It's like everybody's nowhere near the goal, and that's been a problem. And you can't. There's no inner working to get it through together. That's one of the things. Firmino getting older, not playing as much. Henderson doesn't really play that style of. Doesn't play that style of the game. Thiago has been hurt.
Yeah.
Harvey Elliott's getting there. Curtis Jones is coming on the scene. He's playing better, but we just don't have that. Mane dropping deeper, Firmino dropping deeper, and having that interaction the last several years was one of the things that allowed us to like build and be like more technical outside the 18. Now we just don't have that. If it's not a counterattack goal, we can't win.
Yeah.
Kind of like Tottenham.
Yeah, like the fall off from your central midfield is just like it's just like the Asian haven't been replaced effectively. I would say.
I mean, effectively, they haven't been replaced at all. The midfield signing
Well,
that Liverpool made this summer was a loan deal for a player who hasn't played all season because he's injured.
Played
right,
one
but
little bit of a game.
Yeah,
but
like
he said Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, and who was the you had a six, but he got hurt.
So we have Fabinho, Thiago, James Milner, who doesn't
No,
really play midfield
yeah,
that much.
no, your kids. It's
Harvey
Curtis
Elliott.
Jones' kid, Harvey Elliott. I forget his name.
Stefan Bajic or whatever.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like that's what they're replacing. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't
He's good.
adequate.
That
They
He's a
had
very,
to
very
replace
good
him.
player.
That kid's really good. That's good eyes
He
for
will be.
talent.
He will be. Yeah. Like
But I mean,
like
we did not replace our midfield, but the
yes.
idea was we didn't necessarily need to because we still had like 7 of them. The problem is that the 7 of the midfielders are like 55 years old each.
Yes.
You know, it's that's kind of the problem, and they're all getting they didn't have they didn't have the summers, the breaks, and they're getting hurt. Their bodies are breaking down,
Yep.
and we can't keep a consistent midfield. I mean, Chelsea obviously has the same problem, but the with well, at least some of it. Now you've brought in some youth, but again,
Conte.
it's not clicking.
We still haven't
But
played them.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, Liverpool, Fabinho's been hurt this season. Thiago's been hurt for quite a bit. Stefan's now injured. Harvey Elliott has been whatever. Curtis Jones, though, who's been playing well the last few weeks, was out most of the whole season. Luis Diaz has been out, but he did appear yesterday.
Nice.
So he came in for the last 10 minutes. So
Good.
that could be a thing that turns the corner and that get us, maybe to 7th. Who knows?
I mean, this is
I will
this
gladly trade you 7th for 8th.
You don't want to play in the conference.
No, I don't want to play in Crete in October.
He did that once,
No,
and they lost.
Yeah, I don't want to go to Cyprus in October.
The
No,
Minotaur's gonna get you.
You go do that.
Well, the way I see it, if Liverpool is going to finish outside of Europe, I need Dortmund to also finish outside of Europe, so I don't have to subscribe to Paramount next year.
Well, hey,
Yes.
I'm still getting it anyways at this point.
I think that's not the
Right.
plan, unfortunately, because I think Dortmund's probably going to finish in the Champions League.
Oh, yeah,
spots.
they're 100% finishing the Champions League.
So, that's I think we'll end it there for the review episode. Definitely make sure you check back tomorrow because we've got news, we've got Champions League, World Chess Championship update, all that kind of good stuff that we will be offering for you guys tomorrow. Leave a comment down below. Tell us which game you watched, what you think about what's going on in the title race, top 4, relegation, whatever you're interested in. Let us know what you've been watching. Hit us up on Twitter at KS Bradgy, at Whiteheart_Sean, still at Team Dugan. Is that
Yeah.
one? There's
Team Dugan. Just Team Dugan.
Team Dugan. I thought that's what it was. And I'm at James
Or
Tiffany. Or
at Jimmy at the Red Card Radio Discord.
Yes. Join our Discord. It's in the description. You can get us all there. Check back tomorrow. We got the news for you. Until then, we will talk to you guys soon and have a good one.